students. Welcome to the online biology class Life Processes Part 8. Today we are going to discuss about how does double circulation takes place in the heart. In order to understand the double circulation in the heart, first of all we have to recall our previous knowledge about heart. In the previous video we have discussed about the structure of heart. Let us see once again here. Heart contains 4 chambers. It is a thick muscular organ and it is protected by pericardium. The upper 2 chambers of the heart are called auricles or atrium. The lower 2 chambers are called ventricles. When compared to the auricles, ventricles wall somewhat thick. And next, if you see the blood vessels in this, there are many blood vessels connected to the heart. Starts from the right auricle. Right auricle connects with superior vena cava. Superior vena cava. Look at this. Superior vena cava, it is one big blood vessel which receives impure blood, that means deoxygenated blood from all parts of the body, that to upper parts of the body. And in the same way, see the down bluish color blood vessel here. This is called inferior vena cava. This is the blood vessel which receives impure blood from lower parts of the body. And the upper 2 chambers, that means auricles, are separated with a wall-like structure which is called interauricular septum. Interauricular septum. In the same way, the lower 2 chambers, that means ventricles, are also separated with a wall which is called interventricular septum. In the same way, the upper auricle and the lower auricles, both sides, right side and left side. Here also, the auricle and ventricle are separated with a wall-like structure which is called auriculoventricular septum. It just look like this, auriculoventricular septum. In the same way, left side also, the left auricle and left ventricle separates with a left auriculoventricular septum. And in this septum, one small aperture is present which allows the blood from auricle to the ventricle. Those apertures are called auriculoventricular apertures. If the aperture is present right side, it is called right auriculoventricular aperture. If the aperture is present towards left side, this aperture is called left auriculoventricular aperture. Again, if you see these apertures which are present here, these apertures are protected with or guarded by some special valves. The right side auriculoventricular aperture guarded by tricuspid valve, which acts as a door-like structure which prevents the backward flow of the blood. The right side aperture is guarded by tricuspid valve. Remember this valve name. In the same way, the left side aperture, interauriculoventricular aperture, is guarded by bicuspid valve. Bicuspid valve. And again, another important blood vessel which arises from the right ventricle, is called pulmonary vein. Look at this V-shaped structure, pulmonary vein. And this one opens into the lungs. This blood vessel arises from the right ventricle, which is called pulmonary vein, which carries impure blood to the lungs. And see this curved blood vessel, it arises from the left ventricle, which is called aorta. This one is called aorta. It continues, see the down, the curved structure passes towards all parts of the body which carries pure blood to all parts of the body. This is called aorta, which is the biggest blood vessel in the body. And from the lungs, a pair of blood vessels opens into left auricle. Those are called pulmonary veins. Those are called pulmonary veins. There are 4 important blood vessels are present in the heart. One is superior vena cava and also inferior vena cava, which opens into the right auricle, and the second one pulmonary artery, which reaches to the lungs, and aorta, which sends the blood to all parts of the body, and pulmonary vein, which carries pure blood to the left auricle. This is about heart and the blood vessels. Look at here, very clear how the blood vessels connected each and every part of the heart and the lungs. Right auricle, it receives superior vena cava and inferior vena cava, and right ventricle, this is pulmonary artery. The pulmonary artery which reaches the right lung, that is called right pulmonary artery, and the pulmonary artery which reaches to the left lung, which is called left pulmonary artery. And from the lungs, again a pair of blood vessels open into the left auricle. This side also, see this rose color arrow marks, those are called pulmonary veins. The vein which arises from the left lung is called left pulmonary vein, and the vein which arises from the right lung is called right pulmonary vein. These 2 veins open into the left auricle. And from the left ventricle, one of the biggest blood vessel in the body, which is called aorta, arises, and it carries pure blood to all parts of the body, upper side of the body and lower side of the body. The pure blood carries through this aorta only. Look at this. I hope you have understood about heart and the chambers and blood vessels. Now let us discuss how heart beats. You all know that heart is made up of thick cardiac muscles. Heart is made up of thick cardiac muscles. And these cardiac muscles have the properties of excitability, autorhythmic contractility and conductivity. Cardiac muscle has some special characteristics which are excitability, autorhythmic contractility and conductivity. Whenever the cardiac muscle is stimulated properly, these cardiac muscles excited and conduct the excited waves in the form of cardiac impulses on the walls of the chambers which undergo rhythmic contraction. The cardiac muscle is always stimulated. Whenever it gets stimulated, it gets excited. Whenever it gets excited, it conducts that excited waves in the form of cardiac impulses on the walls of the heart chambers. This undergoes rhythmic contraction and relaxation of the heart muscles. Always it contracts and relaxes, contracts and relaxes. The continuous contraction of the cardiac muscles. The continuous contraction of the cardiac muscles is called systole. This contraction of the cardiac muscles is called systole. And the relaxation of the cardiac muscles is called diastole. The relaxation of the cardiac muscles is called diastole. And the contraction of the cardiac muscles is called systole. The rhythmic contraction and relaxation of the heart muscles is called heartbeat. What is meant by heartbeat? Always heart muscles contracts and relaxes. Contracts and relaxes. This rhythmic contraction and relaxation of the heart muscles leads to the heartbeat. You know that a normal adult human being heartbeat, average heartbeat is 72 times per minute. Whenever physical exercise is done, it may rise also. Now let us see how blood flows inside the heart. How blood flows inside the heart. Already we have discussed about the blood vessels, and there from which blood vessel carries which type of blood also we have seen here. But once again we can recall that knowledge. How blood flows inside the heart. Blood flows in a specific and unidirectional manner, while backflow of the blood is prevented by the valves present inside the heart chambers. Already we have discussed about the tricuspid valve and bicuspid valve, which prevents the backward flow of the blood. Once the blood reaches from one chamber to the another chamber, that valves get closed and stops the blood again enters into the same chamber, previous chamber. That's why the blood flow is unidirectional in manner. Always it passes progress only, not to the backward. And again let us see how blood receives and sends to each and every chamber of the heart here. Look at this blue color blood vessel. Let us start with right auricle. To understand the flow of blood, we have to start from one side of the heart. You know that the left side of the heart always contains pure blood, which represents red color only. Look at this picture. And the right side of the heart contains impure blood, which represents in blue color. Impure blood means the blood which contains carbon dioxide, that is deoxygenated blood. Pure blood means the blood which contains oxygen. It is also called oxygenated blood. Remember this one. And let us start with right auricle, how blood receives to here. With the help of superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava, the impure blood receives and reaches to the right auricle, right atrium. Inferior vena cava receives impure blood from the lower parts of the body, and the superior vena cava receives impure blood from the upper parts of the body, and it reaches to the right auricle. And from there, the auricle at the state of receiving the blood, it is in relaxing condition. The relaxation of the cardiac muscle is called diastole, already we have discussed. And the diastole condition we are observing here in the atrium, that's why it is called atrial diastole. During this atrial diastole, that means relaxation of the atrium, the blood receives to the right atrium. Easily it passes to the right atrium. Look at here, REM is right auricle receives deoxygenated blood from all parts of the body. In the same way, at the same time, left auricle. Look at here the red part. This is left auricle, also in the form of, in the stage of arterial diastole. That means it is in relaxation condition. It receives pure blood from the lungs. It receives pure blood from the lungs. Both are in diastole condition only. Both are in relaxation condition only. Whenever they are in relaxation condition, that means during diastole, during arterial diastole, the right auricle receives deoxygenated blood from the body parts, and left auricle receives the oxygenated blood from the lungs. And again immediately these two auricles undergoes contraction, that means systole. During this systole, the oxygenated blood is pumped into the right ventricle from the right auricle through one small aperture, which is called auriculoventricular aperture, which is guarded by tricuspid valve, into the right ventricle. From the right auricle to the right ventricle, deoxygenated blood is pumped because of the contraction of the atrium. At the same time, this side also, left atrium undergoes systolic condition, and that oxygenated blood pushed into the left ventricle. Okay. Next, look at here. After the blood reaches to the ventricles, both sides, impure blood and pure blood, immediately the ventricles undergo systolic condition. That means again it contracts. Because of this contraction, the blood from the right ventricle enters into the pulmonary artery, which is in blue color here, V-shaped structure. See, the impure blood from the ventricle, from the right ventricle, pushed into the pulmonary artery. And from this pulmonary artery, the impure blood reaches to the lungs through right pulmonary artery and left pulmonary artery. And in the same time, the left ventricle contracts and this oxygenated blood pushed into the aorta, which is the big blood vessel, and through this big blood vessel, which is called aorta, the impure blood reaches to all parts of the body. Through these blood vessels and down also we can observe this aorta to all parts of the body. This pure blood reaches to all parts. I hope you have understood how blood flows from one part to the another part. Look at here to understand easily. First of all, the blood reaches to right atrium and from there to right ventricle through aperture, and from there to from right ventricle to pulmonary system, that means blood vessels which reaches to the lungs, pulmonary arteries. And again in the lungs, purification of blood takes place by exchanging of oxygen and carbon dioxide with the through the alveolar walls, and the pure blood reaches to left atrium through pulmonary veins, and from there to it reaches to left ventricle. The pure blood reaches to left ventricle. And because of the systolic of ventricle, the pure blood pushed into the aorta, and through the aorta the blood reaches to rest of the body parts. Have you understood how blood flows through the heart? In this way, blood passes through the heart 2 times to supply once to the body is called double circulation. What is meant by double circulation? The blood passes twice through the heart to supply once to the body is called double circulation. This double circulation is found in amphibians, reptiles, aves, aves means birds, and mammals. Mammals includes human beings also. We can observe double circulation in all amphibians, reptiles, aves, mammals including human beings. And what about fish? In the last video we have discussed about the chambers of the heart. Fish heart contains only 2 chambers. Do you remember that? 2-chambered heart is present in fish, 3-chambered heart is present in amphibians like frog, and partially divided 4-chambered heart is present in reptiles like lizards, snakes, except crocodile. Crocodile contains completely divided 4-chambered heart just like human beings. And birds and mammals also contains 4-chambered heart. In the case of fish, single circulation takes place. The blood passes through the heart only one time. And also if you see this 4-chambered heart, we also know that the right side of the heart contains only impure blood. The left side of the heart contains only pure blood. Why these 2 bloods separated like this? You can observe here the diagrammatic representation how double circulation takes place. The blue color part represents deoxygenated blood flow, and the red color blood vessels represents oxygenated blood flow inside the body, from heart to lungs, and from there to again heart, and from there to all body parts. Starting from here, impure blood reaches to heart, and from there that impure blood pushes to lungs, And in the lungs, purification of blood takes place. That pure blood, oxygenated blood again sends to the heart. From there, that oxygenated blood pushed through the aorta and reaches to all parts of the body. In this way, blood passes through the heart 2 times in 4-chambered heart animals. This is called double circulation. We can observe this type of double circulation in all these animals like amphibians, reptiles, aves, mammals, human beings. Now let us discuss about what is the significance of double circulation in the organisms. Why does oxygenated blood and deoxygenated blood get separated in the heart? You all know that the right side of the heart purely contains deoxygenated blood and the left side of the heart it only contains oxygenated blood. And why does it happen so? If you see, all higher organisms like human beings, birds and other organisms, they perform number of biological processes inside their body. To fulfill their biological processes, they need lot of energy. How do they get energy? Already we have learned in the previous online classes like nutrition and respiration, how do they get energy? By breaking down the food particles with the help of oxygen, they get energy. That's why the multicellular organisms need more supply of oxygen to all parts of the body to get energy to fulfill their all biological processes inside their body. That's why the oxygenated blood and deoxygenated blood present in 2 separate chambers which prevents the mixing of the 2. And you can say that the separation of the right side and left side of the heart is very useful to keep oxygenated and deoxygenated blood away from mixing. Such separation allows a highly efficient supply of oxygen to all parts of the body. This is very useful in animals that have high energy needs such as warm-blooded animals like birds and mammals which constantly use energy to maintain their body temperature. Here we have to know about what is meant by warm-blooded animals. What is meant by warm-blooded animals? Warm-blooded animals means the animals which maintain their body temperature constantly. That means whatever temperature is present in their surroundings, they maintain their body temperature in normal levels only. On the other hand, amphibians and reptiles, which are called cold-blooded animals. Amphibians and reptiles are called cold-blooded animals. And those are very less active animals. So their energy needs can be fulfilled by incomplete double circulation in which some mixing of 2 types of blood occurs. And here why these 2 types of organisms are called cold-blooded animals? These type of animals can change their body temperature according to their surroundings. For example, outside temperature is so cool, then the body temperature inside the body is also may change. If the temperature in the surroundings is very high, the body temperature also changes like that only. That's why these are called cold-blooded animals. Or if you see birds and mammals, those are called warm-blooded animals which maintain their body temperature constantly. To maintain that body temperature in this way, they use a lot of energy. To get that energy, they need efficient supply of oxygen. To get this supply of oxygen, they need only oxygenated blood separately and which gets separated in the left side and right side of the hearts. Then you can understand easily why this oxygenated blood and deoxygenated blood get separated in the chambers of the heart and which prevents from the mixing. To understand the double circulation process clearly, let us see this video.
Heart is a complex pumping organ. If we gradually dissolve into a section of the heart, we observe that it receives deoxygenated blood from different parts of the body in its right atrium. After this, the tricuspid valve opens and the blood keeps flowing into the right ventricle. Then, the right atrium contracts, pushing the remaining blood into the right ventricle. This in turn contracts to push the blood into the pulmonary arteries, which carries the blood to the lungs. The pulmonary vein brings back oxygenated blood into the left atrium of the heart. During arterial contraction, blood passes through the bicuspid valve in the left ventricle. During ventricular contraction, the blood pushes its way into the aorta, from where it flows to various parts of the body. The heart muscles continuously generate impulses which cause the rhythmic contraction and relaxation of atria and ventricles. These impulses are generated by sinoatrial and oriventricular node. Inside the heart, the blood flows in a specific direction. Contraction of the atria is called atrial systole. At this time, the ventricles are in diastole. Then, the ventricles contract. It is known as ventricular systole, and atria are in diastole. This sequence of events, which occur from the beginning of one heartbeat to the beginning of the second one, is called the cardiac cycle.
I hope you have understood how blood flows inside the heart, to the lungs and to all other parts of the body. Now let us discuss about what is meant by blood pressure. The blood pressure is the pressure exerted by the blood on the walls of the blood vessels in which it is present. Whenever the blood pushed into the blood vessels, that pushing may create some type of pressure on the walls of the blood vessels. This is called blood pressure. This pressure is exerted by the blood only. So it is called blood pressure. The average blood pressure in a normal human being is 120 by 80 millimeters of mercury. In this 120 by 80, the numerator 120 represents the systolic pressure of the normal resting adult human being, and the denominator 80 represents the diastolic pressure. Diastole means you all know that it is a relaxation pressure. Systolic pressure means whenever the heart muscles contract, the pressure which exerted by the blood during this systole is called systolic pressure. In 120 by 80, 120 represents systolic pressure, 80 represents diastolic pressure. The abnormal conditions of the blood pressure is also called hypertension. This hypertension may causes the rupture of blood vessels also, and this hypertension causes cardiac arrest, which is nothing but heart attack. And nowadays, blood pressure is measured with the instrument which is called sphygmomanometer. The instrument which is used to measure the blood pressure is called sphygmomanometer. Look at the picture here. There are different types of sphygmomanometers are present. You are very familiar with this type of blood pressure mission, that means sphygmomanometer. It is called mercury sphygmomanometer. Nowadays, digital manometers, sphygmomanometers are coming into the market, and aneroid sphygmomanometers are also present. Electrical sphygmomanometers are also present nowadays in the market. Then the blood pressure is measured in the units of millimeters of mercury, that is mmHg. In the previous slide I told you the average blood pressure of the human being is 120 by 80, and there we have written the units mmHg. What is that mmHg? Those are the units of blood pressure which represents millimeters of mercury. And the readings of the blood pressure are always given in the pairs, with the upper value first and followed by the lower value. The upper value represents systolic pressure and the lower value represents diastolic pressure. Blood pressure is measured by the instrument called sphygmomanometer. Remember this word, it is very important. Sphygmomanometer. Up to now we have learned about how does transportation takes place in organisms. Now let us discuss about how does transportation takes place in plants. Plants do not contain any type of blood vessels and heart to circulate the materials from one part to the other part. You all know that plants are also living things. They also need water, food, minerals and gases for their survival. Then how does these type of materials transport from one place to another place in the case of plants? There is no blood in the plants. Then what is the transportational material present here? If you see the transportation mechanism in the plants, the transportation in plants occur through one specialized vascular tissue. Vascular tissue means nothing but tubular tissue. So many tubules are present inside the plant. Now let us see how transportation takes place in plants. First of all, if you see, plants absorb water and minerals from the roots and it prepares food in the leaves, and the gases exchange takes place through the stomata. All put together it maintains its life, and whatever the water and minerals which are absorbed by the roots through the root system, how does this water reaches to the tip of the plant? Through small tubular tissue. It happens through the specialized vascular tissue. If you see in the plants, there are two types of vascular tissues are present. Those are nothing but xylem and phloem. How many types of vascular tissues are present in plants? Two types of vascular tissues are present in the plants. What are those? Xylem and phloem. Let us discuss about these two now. First of all, see this xylem. Xylem is the vascular tissue which helps in the transportation of water and minerals. We know that roots absorb water and minerals, and whatever water is absorbed in the root tip, that one transported to all parts of the body through this xylem tissue only. See the picture here, how the xylem tissue is present inside the plant. Xylem is made up of three important types of cells. In that, tracheids, second one vessels, third one xylem parenchyma. Among all these, vessels play a very vital role in the conduction of water and minerals in the plants. And how does this water reaches to tip of the plant? In this way, transpiration pull plays a very major role in the ascent of sap. Here you have to know what is meant by ascent of sap. Ascent of sap means the upward movement of the water from the root system to all parts of the body is called ascent of sap. And this one happens because of transpiration pull. What is meant by transpiration? The releasing of water vapor through the stomata is called transpiration. You all know that plants release water through the stomata in the form of vapor to maintain the body temperature of the plants. This process is very important. This is called transpiration. Whenever the water gets evaporated from the upper parts of the aerial parts of the plant, then only the water from the roots is absorbed and reaches to all parts of the body through this xylem tissue. If you observe how this water moves from one place to another place, means it is only unidirectional movement, always from down to up. Unidirectional movement. Look at the pictures here, how the tracheids, vessels and xylem parenchyma are present inside the plant. Those are nothing but long tube-like structures, smooth walls, which allows the water from one cell to the another cell. This is about xylem. The direction, the movement of the water is only unidirectional, only one way, from down to up. Let us know about the second type of vascular tissue, which is called phloem. Phloem helps in the transportation of food materials. In the plants, what is food material? Plants prepare its own food material through the process of photosynthesis. You all know that. That food is stored in the form of starch or glucose, which is also called sugars. And this phloem tissue helps in the transportation of sugars and nutrients throughout the plant. And if you see the structure of phloem, it is also complex tissue like xylem, which contains 4 types of cells. In these 4 types of cells, sieve tubes with sieve plates is one type of cell, companion cells, sclerenchymal fibers, and phloem parenchyma. These are the 4 types of cells present in the phloem. Look at this picture, you can understand. Phloem contains long tubular structures only, which are called sieve tubes, and the end of the sieve tubes ends with a perforated plate-like structure, which is called sieve plates. Perforated means so many holes are present at the end of these sieve tubes. These are called sieve plates. And then just beside the sieve tubes, companion cells are present, which are also long elongated cells. And see this third type of cells here, sclerenchymal fibers, which are non-living substances which use mechanical support to the plant. You all know that in the last class, that is in the 9th class, you have learnt about different types of tissues in plants and other organisms. There you have learnt about sclerenchyma, parenchyma, collenchyma, everything. And sclerenchyma, if you see, these are dead cells which gives mechanical support to the plants. And third one is phloem parenchyma. Fourth one is phloem parenchyma. This is also very important cell in the conduction of food materials throughout the plant. And if you observe the movement, here the movement is bidirectional. That means, to understand that, leaves prepares food. You all know that. And this prepared food moves to all parts of the body in all directions, not only from up to down or down to earth. Maybe this movement in the plants through the phloem is multidirectional or bidirectional. These food particles reaches to every cell of the plant in all directions through the phloem. Phloem is one vascular tissue. Let us see the differences between the xylem and phloem. Through these pictures clearly you can understand. This is xylem tissue, which contains soft and smooth cells with long tracheids, only one way direction. See the arrow marks here, only from down to up. Unidirectional movement of water takes place. No end walls present between the cells here, all cells connected to each other. And the walls of these cells are made up of lignin, which gives thickness to the cells in the xylem vessel. If you observe the phloem vessel here, 4 types of cells I told you. These long tubules are called sieve tubules, and these sieve tubules ends with a perforated plate-like structure, which are called sieve plates. So many holes are present in between this. In the xylem, no end walls are present, but in the phloem, end walls are present. Cell ends with a plate-like structure. And direction, if you see, upward, downward, both bidirectional type of movement is present in the phloem tissue. This is also the same, only unidirectional, bidirectional with perforated end walls of the cells. I hope you have understood the transportation mechanism in different types of organisms like human beings and also in the plants. Thank you.